Being here with us this morning. The Washington Journal will be back tomorrow morning, but first, live coverage of the House and the repeal vote on that health care law scheduled for today.
How long must we be burdened with grief, going about sorrowful all day and throughout the night? How long will our oppression last? Then some forget self and readily turn to the Lord. Look now and answer us, O Lord our God. Give light to our eyes, lest we seem asleep, no longer fully alive, but like the dead, lest our opponents say, we have overpowered them, and laugh at our downfall. Still others, like ourselves, will trust in the Lord. For our part, we will trust in your faithful love. Our hearts will rejoice that you will set us free. We will sing of your goodness to us and bless your holy name most high, both now and forever. Amen.
Amen. The chair has examined the journal of the last day's proceedings and announces to the House his approval thereof. Pursuant to Clause 1 of Rule 1, the journal stands approved. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by the gentleman from New Mexico, Congressman Heinrich.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The chair will entertain up to 15 requests for 1-minute speeches on each side of the aisle. For what purpose does the gentleman from South Carolina rise?
Mr. Speaker, I ask permission to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today the voice of the American people will be heard. The current administration's unconstitutional health care takeover is not the will of the people. Tea Party participants have made a difference. The current law would cost taxpayers over $2.6 trillion. It adds to the rising health care cost. The health care takeover is not workable, and the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, America's largest organization of small businesses, estimates it will eliminate 1.6 million jobs. Today's vote on repealing the job-killing Health Care Law Act promotes a common-sense approach to the health care issues facing our country. Instead of forcing Americans to comply with a big government takeover of health care, repeal will open the discussion providing for affordable care to families, preserving the doctor-patient relationship, and protecting jobs. This is what the American people want the new Congress to achieve. Now is the time to repeal the takeover and forward a plan that provides for access and affordability. In conclusion, God bless our troops, and we will never forget September 11th and the global war on terrorism.
The gentleman yields back. For what purpose is the gentleman from Illinois is recognized?
Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to speak for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks, to enter relevant materials into the record for taxpayers' expense.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Sure, if you would help me, that'd be great. Mr. Speaker, on January 11, 1944, in his third term, President Franklin Roosevelt recognized the limitations of the presidency and Congress in addressing the nation's most serious problem, unemployment. So he proposed changing the only vehicle capable of eliminating unemployment, the Constitution. Roosevelt suggested that adding fundamental economic rights to the Constitution was the only way to truly address our unemployment problem. 67 years later, to dramatize this shameful condition that our nation and the marketplace tolerates, I've asked the nation's unemployed, underemployed, and economically insecure to send their resumes to me at resumesforamerica@mail.house.gov. I would then submit those records to the congressional record on their behalf as a means of protesting the unaddressed, shameful unemployment problem. I'm not promising anyone a job. I believe that the wealthiest nation in the world should do something about the jobs loophole in our freedom construct. Until Democrats and Republicans in this Congress and in the White House eliminate the fear of unemployment from our freedom and liberty construct, I will continue this peaceful demonstration at resumesforamerica@mail.house.gov. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Colorado is recognized. Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of this historic effort to bring back our health care system from the grip of a massive, unprecedented government takeover. Overwhelmingly, my constituents in Colorado, like the majority of Americans, know that Obamacare increased costs, explodes the deficit, raises taxes, hurts job creators, and most importantly, gives the government control over personal health care decisions. To force every American to buy a private product like health insurance is unconstitutional. By using budgetary gimmicks like counting 10 years of tax hikes against 6 years of spending, Democrats rigged Obamacare to get a misleading score from the Congressional Budget Office. Realistic accounting shows that this law is a budget buster. Obamacare creates so much new bureaucracy and spending that it took 2,800 pages to create it, while the bill to repeal is only 2 pages. Republicans will work to craft better solutions that empower patients and families to make their own health care decisions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Oregon is recognized. Without objection, gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. You may miss it in the rhetoric, but both parties agree the current path of Medicare threatens to bankrupt the country. Some parts of America are spending twice as much per Medicare patient as we spend in Portland, Oregon, for example, but deliver inferior care. We know what to do. This is why the Reform Act can give better care for less cost, but it's not guaranteed. The Republican plan would strip away the reforms, the protections, and the cost savings. But this is not just an assault on new health care freedoms. It represents the triumph of politics over adult fiscal supervision. The Republican leadership doesn't just ignore, they discredit the nonpartisan professionals who for 36 years helped keep politicians in both parties honest. Without this impartial referee, the long, difficult road to fiscal health becomes longer, becomes harder, and becomes less likely to be traveled.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Indiana seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, there's a lot of talk these days around here about where members of Congress are going to sit during the State of the Union address. Well, I've been in Congress for 10 years. I learned a long time ago it doesn't really matter where you sit. It matters where you stand. And today, House Republicans are going to stand with the American people and vote to repeal their government takeover of health care, lock, stock, and barrel. Now, I know the other side and some liberals in the media don't like us using that term, government takeover of health care, but let me break it down for you. When you mandate that every American purchase health insurance, whether they want it or need it or not, you mandate every business provide health insurance or send people to a government-run exchange, you pay for it with hundreds of billions of dollars in higher taxes and mandates, and you throw in public funding of abortion against the wishes of the overwhelming majority of the American people, that's a government takeover of health care, and the American people know it. I urge all of my colleagues in both political parties to join us today as we keep our promise to the American people, as we scrap this health care reform bill last year and start over with health care reform that will lower the cost of health insurance without growing the size of government.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
The for-profit health care system is the problem. $800 billion every year is spent on corporate profits, stock options, executive salaries, advertising, marketing, the cost of paperwork. In the for-profit system that we have, nearly 1 out of every $3 goes for things not related to health care. If we took that $800 billion and spent it on care for people, we'd have enough money to cover all medically necessary needs in addition to dental care, vision care, mental health care, prescription drugs, long-term care. We would not have a situation where 50 million Americans don't have any health insurance. Americans wouldn't have to worry about losing everything they've worked a lifetime for because there's an illness in a family. This debate's the wrong debate. A for-profit model is the wrong model. We should be talking about universal health care, single-payer, not-for-profit health care, Medicare for all, quality health care for all Americans.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman, California, what purpose do you seek recognition?
It was great up there.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute, revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Speaker, one of the brightest lights of the greatest generation. That's how President Obama correctly described Sargent Shriver, who we all know passed away yesterday. Sargent Shriver gave new meaning to the term public service. He never held elective office, and yet he launched the Peace Corps, was a member of the Diplomatic Corps, and he and his wife started the great Special Olympics. In fact, I first got to know him in 1997 when I happened to be traveling with President Clinton in Latin America, and we were in Buenos Aires, and it just so happened that that night Sargent Shriver was there holding an event to raise funds for the Special Olympics. He, by virtue of his public service, was able to touch lives not just here in the United States, but because of his service, he was able to touch lives all over the globe. Our thoughts and prayers are with his wonderful children and all the members of his family.
Back. For what purpose does the gentleman from New Mexico seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, last year we took a desperately needed stand for America's families and small businesses over the insurance companies. We took a stand against insurance company abuses like discrimination against the sick, lifetime limits, the prescription drug donut hole, and a resulting trillion-dollar increase to our deficit. We took a stand for hardworking Americans like Vicky Farrar, who moved to Albuquerque only to discover that to re-enroll in a health insurance plan, she'd end up spending close to a third of her income because of her pre-existing condition, high blood pressure. That kind of skyrocketing cost burden has stunted the dreams of American families and small businesses while lining the pockets of insurance company CEOs. But thanks to the American Affordable Care Act, Vicki and her doctor will be put back in charge of her health care and able to choose an affordable insurance policy. I urge my colleagues to vote against a return to the broken health care system that we spent decades trying to fix. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition?
Request permission to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, recently in the border ghost town of Fort Quitman, Texas, a county road crew came under automatic weapon fire. The 4 Hudspeth County workers reported at least 8 shots were fired at them from across the border in Mexico. The Rio Grande is very narrow in this isolated region and is used by armed drug smugglers to bring drugs into the United States. Speculation by the Texas Rangers is the shooter was trying to protect the drug route from the workers. This newest attack on the road crew is yet another example of the brazen, violent determination of outlaws to invade the United States. The United States protects the borders of other nations. Why doesn't the federal government do its constitutional duty and really protect our border from foreign invaders? Are border states going to have to not only give road crews shovels, but rifles to protect them from the drug cartels? It's time to be serious and protect Americans and put more National Guard troops on the border. Meanwhile, Washington seems to be whistling by their graveyard of indifference, and that's just the way it is.
Gentleman yields back. What purpose does the gentlelady from Florida seek recognition? Without objection, the gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to share the story of Patricia Maish. Pat, as her friends call her, lives outside Tucson and has been fittingly hailed as one of the heroes during the tragic shooting of our colleague and friend Gabby Giffords. Pat actually knocked the second gun clip out of the shooter's hand as he was attempting to reload, very likely saving the lives of more innocent people. She was in line to talk to her congresswoman, to share that she thought that the title of the health care repeal bill was disingenuous, and because Pat and her husband own a small business north of Tucson. The spouse of one of their employees has a pre-existing condition, and they've been unable to find affordable coverage to cover her. Pat wanted to tell Congresswoman Giffords that the health reform law will help them provide insurance for this employee. She wanted to ask Gabby to stand up to attempts to repeal health reform. Pat was unable to deliver her message to her representative, but she asked me to share it with you now. Heed the words of Pat Maish. Heed the words of millions of Americans needing health care. Don't repeal vital health care reform. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlelady yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from California seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak in favor of repealing the government takeover of health care forced through Congress without the input of the American people. This country is currently in the midst of a terrible recession, and it's clear that shouldering America's small businesses with heavier tax burdens and increased regulation will only prolong our road to recovery. By mandating that small businesses and individuals carry government-approved health care, the federal government has dramatically overstepped the boundaries of personal freedom guaranteed by our Constitution. It infringes on the rights of the states by forcing new requirements upon them and penalizing them should they choose to opt out of the federal mandate. The American people were misled. A government-run health care plan will limit access and choice, and millions of Americans will lose their coverage because of mandates from bureaucrats in Washington. I yield my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from North Carolina seek recognition?
Permission to address the House for 1 minute.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, today we continue debate on the Republicans' most unfortunate effort to repeal health care reform that we passed during the last Congress. This repeal will increase the deficit by $230 billion. No one disagrees with that but Republicans. That's why the Republican majority exempted this legislation from pay-as-you-go budgeting. You know this repeal will increase the deficit. Keeping the law in its present form not only decreases the deficit, but it will provide 32 million uninsured Americans the opportunity to obtain insurance and provide dependable coverage for their families. It allows children to remain on their families' policies. It closes the donut hole and does so much more. Mr. Speaker, I can usually see both sides of an issue, but for the life of me, I can't see what the Republicans are trying to achieve but to score political points with their right-wing base. I call on my friends to abandon your efforts and let's concentrate on putting Americans to work. That's what my constituents are demanding and your constituents as well. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia seek recognition? Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is a historic day in America. Acting on the will of the voters and the majority of all Americans, today we will vote to repeal Obamacare. Now, while the Senate appears less interested in following suit, here in the House, this vote marks the beginning of round 2 of a vigorous and spirited national debate on health care. Over the coming months and weeks, this debate will go from Congress to the kitchen tables all across this country. So as we re-engage in the debate, the party on the left questions why. Why do the American people want this policy repealed so bad? So let's revisit some of those areas. Number 1, the employee mandate, penalizing and punishing businesses for not having a government-approved health care. The individual mandate, punishing and taxing Americans who choose not to have government-approved health care. $569 billion in new taxes on the American people, jobs being lost, a cost of the bill $2.6 trillion, $700 billion deficit over the first 10 years of its life, and yes, 222 corporations already exempt and wavered from this policy. That's why.
For what purpose does the gentlelady from Maine seek recognition? Gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, repealing the historic health care legislation that we passed last year would pull the rug out from under millions of Americans and add billions to the deficit. We can and should talk about CBO scores, tax credits, and unemployment numbers, but what this health care reform is really about is improving the lives of millions of Americans. It's about children with pre-existing conditions who can no longer be denied coverage. It's about senior citizens who can now afford to get screened for diabetes or get a mammogram. It's about working families that no longer have to worry that their insurance will be canceled if they get sick. It's about people like Geraldine from South Portland, Maine, who wrote to me. She said, "My son turned 19 last May and promptly lost his insurance coverage. He has high blood pressure and had to go to the doctor a number of times to get his medication right. It was a struggle to keep up with the bills. He works 2 part-time jobs and it doesn't get him health care. As of December 1, I was able to get him back on my insurance, and it is a relief knowing he's covered. If this was repealed, it would hurt my son's health. That's why we need to stick with the health care plan and vote no."
For what purpose does the gentleman from Tennessee seek recognition? The gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
When the Congress passed the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act last year, it was promised that Americans would have better access, more affordable, and higher quality care. Instead, Obamacare created what we all despise and know won't work: more government bureaucracy at taxpayer expense. $500 billion in new taxes, $500 billion in Medicare cuts, more government bureaucracy, thousands of new IRS employees. What we need for the American people is transparency and accountability. Do I need to remind our colleagues that the approval rating of Congress is at an all-time low? Because we're not listening to the folks. We were sent here in November to do a job, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to keep our promises we made to the American people, and we're going to hold true to that. So I stand in favor of repealing the health care bill. We have to create jobs and get our economy moving, and if we allow this health care bill to stay in effect, that will not do. Thank you.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Oregon seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Gentleman who spoke before me talked about transparency and accountability. Let's talk about the insurance industry pre-reform. They could cancel your policy if you got sick, even though you've been paying the premiums for years. They can refuse to sell you a policy if they don't look like the way you look or if you've had a minor health problem. We changed that. People can now get health insurance and keep their health insurance if they've been paying their premiums. But now they want to go back to those bad old days, and they talk about transparency and accountability. How accountable is an industry that is exempt from antitrust law? Health insurance companies can and do collude to exclude people from coverage, to redline, to drive up premiums, to not sell in one state, not compete with one another. There's no free market and competition and transparency and accountability. If the Republicans really wanted to do something today, and if they want to showboat with this repeal, they could at least replace it by making the industry comply with the same competitive rules as every other industry in America except professional sports, and that is they would be subject to antitrust restrictions.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, we all want to increase access to quality, affordable health care. We know that in this troubled economy, Americans are concerned about making ends meet and ensuring that they are covered in the event of a health care emergency. However, the misguided health care effort that was pushed through this House during the last Congress is doing much more harm than good. The hardworking families and seniors and small businesses in my district cannot afford this health care overhaul that is costing jobs, increasing red tape, spending trillions of dollars, and actually increasing health care costs. This week, the House is listening to and acting upon the message that Americans sent to Washington this past fall. We will replace the overreaching health care law with common sense solutions that will lower costs and increase access to insurance while keeping Americans in charge of their own health care. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Hawaii seek recognition? The objection, gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the Health Care Reform Act was passed, it has in it Section 1560. That section recognizes the Hawaii Prepaid Health Care Act. Why? Because we have the lowest premiums in the nation, and we have one of the best coverages afforded for that. And why is that? because we recognized very early on that you need to do a series of things. One, you need to share risks. Two, you need to cover everyone. And three, you need to make things available. Health care has to be available. And for that, we have a great system. A system that still needs to be tweaked, a system that will benefit from the Affordable Health Care Act. What does that tell you? It took us 36 years to get it right, and we're still working on it. And my colleagues across the aisle want to repeal something that hasn't been around for a year. Now, the American people does not want that. They want us to learn from when things are done right. Look at what we've done, 36 years, and we're getting it right. But it's still not perfect. We got to keep listening, and we got to hear the people. Mr. Speaker,
Gentlelady's time's expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from Rhode Island seek recognition?
Extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just yesterday, I had the privilege of hearing from a Rhode Islander, Alex Latai, who spoke at the one and only hearing Congress had to discuss the negative effects of repealing the new health care law. Alex graduated last May with 2 bachelor's degrees, and while looking for a job after graduation, he's able to afford health insurance because he can stay on his parents' policy. Repealing this law means Alex and millions of Americans will lose their coverage. I also recently spoke to Beth, a woman from Woonsocket, Rhode Island. She told me she's an insurance agent. She sells insurance every single day, but she's denied access to coverage because of her pre-existing condition. Repealing this law would mean she would again be denied access to health care. She said, please do not let them take my health care. I was sent here to find practical solutions to solve the problems facing Rhode Island families. Let's work to improve this law, not repeal it. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from Texas seek recognition? Kentucky.
With permission to address the House for 1 minute.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, over the course of the last year and a half, as we worked to pass incredibly important protections for Americans, opponents of health care reform continued to try to scare people about what we were doing. And now, with this vote today, where the Republican plan is basically to remove all of those protections that we have offered the American public, there are a lot of people out there who will think that after the vote today that these protections are going to go away. So I want to assure the constituents in my district, in the 3rd District of Kentucky, almost 300,000 of them with pre-existing conditions, your protection against discrimination will not go away. Those 15,700 small businesses in my district that will now get benefits to provide coverage for their employees, don't worry about that vote. Those protections are not going to go away. For those seniors in the donut hole, almost 10,000 in my district who have had their prescription drug costs lowered because of what we did last year, this vote today will not take them away. And as for those 24,000 individuals in my district who will now have access to insurance for the first time, the vote today will not take them away. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas seek recognition? The gentleman from New York. What purpose does he seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today in opposition to repealing health care reform. The reason is simple. It does not create jobs. It does not protect the middle class, and it balloons the deficit. Since March of 2010, the economy has created a total of 1.1 million new private sector jobs. Over 200,000 of these jobs were in the health care sector alone. Health care reform is helping to create jobs, not take them away. Health care reform helps the middle class. In my district alone, 439,000 individuals who currently have health insurance now have protections and benefits that they did not have before the reform. 113,000 of my senior constituents are able to access preventative care and screenings for free because of reform. Tax credits are available for up to 14,500 small businesses in the capital region of New York. These are real changes that benefit real people. Repeal would eliminate all of them thoughtlessly and with great harm to the middle class of my district. Finally, repeal would increase the debt by trillions of dollars. In fact, 20 years from now, repeal would cost us more than $1.2 trillion, ballooning the deficit and severely threatening our nation's debt. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Texas seek recognition?
To address the House for 1 minute and revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, the gentlelady is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so very much. Look forward to working with you.
It's time to bust a number of myths. It's time to really tell the American the truth. As we begin another series of 5-hour debates on repealing a life-saving initiative, it's really time to tell the truth. Maybe it's time to tell the truth about this senior citizen who had pneumonia and didn't know she had it. But if she had not had, in quotes, a government-run health system, Medicare, she wouldn't be laying up in a sophisticated medical facility, providing her with the opportunity to live. Any of you know about pneumonia. Walking pneumonia can kill you. It killed my grandfather, who did not have access to this quality health care because he did not have Medicare. It's time to bust the myth. It's time to tell our physicians that Democrats worked hard to build up your reimbursement. We were the leaders on it. This has nothing to do with the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, because as this bill grows with research dollars, we also have the opportunity with the President to work on reimbursement.
General time's expired.
This bill is a bill to save lives, and those in Texas know it, Mr. Speaker, because the Texas
General time expired.
Insurance Agency said it is a good bill. I yield back.
Gentle time expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from Colorado seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And we're here today to again debate the repeal of the health care legislation passed last year. Democrats provided in that bill that various freedoms, freedom from discrimination for pre-existing conditions, freedom from cancellation because you get sick, freedom to move from job to job without losing your insurance. Those freedoms are part of the legislation of America today. They're all based on the equal protection laws of the 14th Amendment. The Republicans, in a very radical and extreme move, want to have Americans forfeit these freedoms. We can't have that done. This is about saving money, $230 billion. Republicans talk about saving money, but they're prepared to repeal an act that saves America $230 billion. We want to make sure that we have manufacturing in this country. We make it in America. We're not competitive with the rest of the world. We can't allow this repeal to take place. Urge a no vote.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from Delaware seek recognition? Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to oppose this counterproductive effort to repeal the Affordable Health Care Act. Instead, we ought to focus on how we can move forward together, Democrats and Republicans, to address the very serious challenge of rising health care costs. Among developed nations, the United States spends twice as much as a share of GDP on health care, yet we rank near the bottom in health outcomes. Insurance premiums more than doubled in the last decade. Absent reform, they were on pace to double again by 2020. These costs are unsustainable for Delaware families and for the federal budget. There can't be serious conversation about deficit reduction without talking about health care cost containment. Medicare, Medicaid, and S-CHIP alone consume 1/4 of the federal budget. The Affordable Health Care Act will curb health care cost growth, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. I came to Congress to make the tough, thoughtful decisions necessary to improve the Affordable Health Care Act, not repeal it. And I look forward to working with my colleagues to do just that.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose does the gentleman from Connecticut seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, by direction of the Democratic Caucus, I offer a privileged resolution and ask for its immediate consideration.
The clerk will report the title of the resolution.
House Resolution 39, resolved that the following named members be and are hereby elected to the following standing committees of the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that the resolution be considered as read and printed in the record.
Objection? The resolution is agreed to and the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Okay. think they're ready. Pursuant to Clause 1C of Rule 19, proceedings will now resume on H.R. 2, which the clerk will report by title.
H.R. 2, a bill to repeal the job-killing health care law and health care-related provisions in the Health Care and Education Reconciliation Act of 2010.
When consideration was postponed on Tuesday, January 18, 2011, 5 hours of debate remained on the bill, with 30 minutes equally divided and controlled by the majority leader and the minority leader or their designees, 90 minutes equally divided and controlled by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Education and Workforce, 90 minutes equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on Energy and Commerce, 90 minutes equally divided and controlled by the chair and ranking member of the Committee on Ways and Means. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of H.R. 2, and I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized for such time as he may consume.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For 20 consecutive months, more than 14 million Americans have been unemployed. As much as we would like to solve this problem, the federal government cannot legislate or regulate our way to job creation. We can, however, foster economic certainty that will encourage families, businesses, and entrepreneurs to spend, hire, and invest. And that is what we will try to do today. Almost 1 year ago, Democrats launched a nearly $1 trillion government takeover of health care that increases national health care spending by $311 billion over 10 years and levies more than $500 billion in new taxes on individuals, consumers, and businesses. The 2,700-page law has led to more than 4,000 pages in new rules and regulations, and the law is only 10 months old. The uncertainty of what this all means for individuals and businesses today and in the months and years to come is having a chilling effect on the country's job creators. A number of provisions in the law will undermine job creation and economic growth, but perhaps none is as alarming as the employer mandate. For the first time in the nation's history, employers with more than 50 workers are required to provide government-approved health care coverage. Those who do not or cannot afford to will be forced to pay a $2,000 penalty for every worker beyond the first 30. If you are a small business owner with 50 workers and you cannot afford to provide government-approved health insurance for your workers, adding one additional employee to the payroll will result in a $42,000 penalty. Some refer to the employer mandate as shared sacrifice. They argue that expanding coverage to every individual means everyone must pay. But the cost of this provision will result in more than lost dollars and cents. Hiring new workers will be more expensive, creating a disincentive for job creators to put Americans back to work. The employer mandate isn't the only challenge facing employers. Last year, the administration released a regulation on the so-called grandfather provision, a provision intended to protect current plans against the law's costly and complex requirements. It is also central to the President's promise that, quote, if you like your current health care plan, you can keep it, close quote. Unfortunately, the regulation falls far short of the President's promise. By the administration's own estimates, up to 69% of all employer plans and 80% of small business plans will be denied grandfathered status in just 2 years. One estimate indicates 87 million Americans will face changes to their current health care plans. Instead of keeping what they already have, individuals and employers will have to pay more for something new and unfamiliar. The more costly it is for employers to provide coverage, the more likely existing health plans will be eliminated, and the need for government assistance will grow. And as the roles for government programs expand, the cost to taxpayers will skyrocket. At a time when every job creator should be encouraged to grow and hire, the Democrats' health care law instead forces employers to choose between rising health care costs and government penalties. It is time to end the uncertainty facing families, employers, and workers. It is time to push Obamacare aside so America's job creators, both large and small, can move forward with the confidence they need to hire new workers. Mr. Speaker, I urge my colleagues to support the bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. What purpose does the gentleman from California rise?
I yield myself 4 minutes.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong opposition to H.R. 2, the Republican Patients Bill of Rights Repeal Act. The question is just simply fundamental here, whether or not people will be able to have control over their health care needs and their health insurance needs, or whether or not we will go back to the chaos of the previous system that is dictated by the insurance companies, where people are thrown off of policies willy-nilly, where people are not reimbursed for cost willy-nilly, given excuses, paperwork back and forth, where young people are thrown off their parents' policy at the age when they graduate from high school, and whether or not they will have insurance or not, or whether people will have the freedom to make the choices to have insurance that will cover them, that will get rid of the pre-existing conditions that eliminate their coverage, that will get rid of the lifetime caps so that those people who contract cancer or other chronic diseases find out they've run out of insurance at the exact moment that they need it. No longer will that be the case under the current law. Now, the choice is to repeal that law and to make it more difficult for small businesses to provide insurance. Since the enactment of the tax credit under this law, we now see that hundreds of thousands of employees have been extended health insurance by small businesses employing 50 workers or less because of that tax credit, a tax credit that is scheduled to increase. So we already see that hundreds of thousands of employees that did not have access to insurance because they worked for small businesses today have insurance. That's not the reporting of the government. That's the reporting of the health insurance companies, where people and businesses are making application for insurance. So what we see now is young people are once again covered and can have the security that they'll have health insurance while they go to school or while they start a new job that may not have health insurance with that coverage. We now see that people who may have had a bout of cancer early on know that that will not disqualify them from having insurance as they go out and continue to work to provide for their families. We now see that after 2014, when people change their jobs or they lose their jobs, they will have insurance. So they will not have to go to the poorhouse because of the insurance costs that they will not be able to provide for because they're unemployed. They will not be locked into a job that they don't want. They will be able to be entrepreneurial and go out and seek a new job knowing that they will have health insurance. That's the certainty of this legislation. We can now choose the chaos of the current insurance system. We can choose the chaos of people getting a letter saying you no longer have insurance, getting a letter saying your child is no longer covered, getting a letter saying your premium's up 59%, as they did last year in California. We've seen health insurance premiums jump dramatically over the cost of living over the last decade. And over the last decade, we've seen more and more businesses shed coverage for their employees. The Republicans want to believe that there's certainty in that. The Republicans want to believe that that's a comfort to the American working family. The Republicans want to believe that that's a comfort to grandparents who see their grandchildren thrown off their children's policies. That's not a comfort. What is a comfort is the freedom to know that never again will you have to contest the arbitrary rulings of an insurance company about your pre-existing condition, about the coverage of your child's health care. Never again will you have to contest whether or not you will get help paying for your pharmaceuticals if you're a senior. Never again will you have to pay for a preventative medical checkup to try to keep you healthy if you're a senior. That's the certainty that this legislation presents. Last night I had a telephone town hall meeting with over 1,000 seniors in my district, and all of them, almost all of them, I'd say there's 3 or 4 in the call, almost all of them wanted the certainty of knowing they were going to get help with their pharmaceutical payments. They struggle with the donut hole. They were appreciative of the $250 check they got last year, and they're appreciative of the help they're going to get paying for their pharmaceuticals this year. That's the certainty that we ought to reject by rejecting repeal of the Health Care Act.
Gentleman's time has expired. For what purpose is the gentleman from Minnesota is recognized? Gentleman from Minnesota.
Mr. Speaker, at this time I'm pleased to yield a minute to a member of the committee, the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Petri.
Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 1 minute.
Today I rise in support of H.R. 2, legislation which would repeal the health care law passed last year. Even if it's unlikely that this bill will pass the Senate, I think it's important for the House majority to state its position in the clearest possible terms to encourage a general reevaluation of the new law. Make no mistake, my colleagues and I support health care reform which would ensure that all Americans, including those with pre-existing conditions, have access to affordable coverage. However, the health care law that passed last year takes a fundamentally wrong approach to achieving that goal and will only make worse our skyrocketing health care costs and federal deficits. My state of Wisconsin is a leader in terms of providing efficient, high-quality care, and I've been meeting and will continue to work with medical providers in my state as well as my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to develop proposals which will reward high-quality, low-cost medical services instead of simply giving government more control over our health care. Only by implementing proposals that rein in out-of-control health care costs will we be able to make affordable coverage available to all Americans. I look forward to working with my colleagues on this important issue and yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California.
I yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Andrews.
Gentleman from New Jersey is recognized for 4 minutes.
Unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the chairman for yielding. As we sit here this morning, there are millions of Americans sitting in front of computers or the one ads desperately looking for their next job. 15 million unemployed Americans. The question they're asking this Congress is, why don't you work together to help small businesses and entrepreneurs create jobs for our country? The answer the majority gives them is, we'll get to that someday. What they're doing today raises some real questions as well. A mother of 2 4-year-old twins diagnosed with leukemia. The twins are diagnosed with leukemia. Tries to buy health insurance. The insurance company says, we won't sell it to you because your children have leukemia, or we'll charge you 5 times as much. We say that should be illegal. And the law today the majority tries to repeal says differently. A yes vote for repeal means she's told, sorry, no insurance. A person who's faithfully paid his premiums for years and suddenly needs a quadruple bypass heart operation, receives a letter from his insurance company that says, sorry, we're rescinding your coverage. We say, and the law says, that should be illegal. But a vote for repeal says, sorry, you're on your own. A pregnant woman who has a very difficult pregnancy and gives birth to a child with severe impairments that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars each month. The law says, and we say, that the insurance company should be legally obligated to pay her bills as long as she and her baby needs it. No lifetime policy limits. But a vote for repeal says she's on her own. A senior citizen who runs out of prescription drug coverage the 4th of July or Labor Day. The law says, and the bill says, they should get some help to continue to buy their prescriptions for the rest of the year. But a vote for repeal says she's on her own. We're all on our own in paying the debt. Our president's meeting with the president of China today, and as we do that, the majority's adding over $1 trillion to the national debt with this vote. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this bill doesn't create jobs for the middle class. It creates pain for the middle class. The right vote is no on this repeal. The right course is get back to the job of creating jobs for the American people. Vote no. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'm pleased to yield to another member of the committee, the gentleman from South Carolina, Mr. Wilson, 1 minute.
Gentleman from South Carolina is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership. Mr. Speaker, one of the many threats of this unconstitutional health care takeover is the unfunded state mandates. In my home state of South Carolina, newly inaugurated Governor Nikki Haley has correctly warned that the Palmetto State cannot afford the health care mandate. Governor Haley even went so far as to ask the President to opt out of this unfunded mandate. The reason is because the health care takeover calls for an additional $1 billion in new state spending. The takeover will cripple small businesses. A recent study by the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, America's largest organization of small businesses, has indicated that the mandate will lead to the elimination of 1.6 million jobs. This law imposes burdens on all Americans. It's a threat on senior citizens in that it will lead to waiting lists, deferral services, and rationing. It's a threat to our nation's youth in that it burdens them with excessive debt. Mr. Speaker, the liberal health care takeover destroys jobs, limits freedoms, and expands big government.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from California.
I yield 2 minutes to the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Woolsey, member of the committee.
Gentlelady from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to speak out in emphatic opposition to H.R. 2, the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. Mr. Speaker, one of my sons, the husband of 2 and a wonderful father, came home last week to Petaluma from 6.5 weeks in the hospital. He has many, many more weeks of recovery ahead of him. But I can tell you that this family that still has a huge challenge ahead of them would not have a chance without health care, the health care coverage that they have. This bill, by the way, goes in precisely the wrong direction. Just when we should be strengthening the historic reform we passed last year, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle want to tear it apart. Have you never experienced another person that had the needs that my family has today, even if it wasn't in your family? Repeal, we know, would leave millions out in the cold, stripping them of access to affordable health coverage. In fact, Blue Shield of California recently announced a rate increase of as much as 59%. 59% for some 200,000 policyholders. Does the majority not see the problem with runaway costs that are passed on to middle-class families already burdened by a deep recession? Do you want to return to the broken health care system that had people crying out for reform in the first place? The claim that cutting government spending is the most important of all flies in the face of the CBO that has concluded that their bill would add $230 billion, your bill, the Republican bill, $230 billion to the nation's debt by 2021. Do not vote.
Gentleman's time has expired. Gentleman from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I'm pleased to yield 2 minutes to my friend, colleague, member of the committee, the gentlewoman from North Carolina, Ms. Fox.
Gentlelady from North Carolina is recognized for 1 minute or 2 minutes? 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank my friend for yielding me time. I rise today in support of H.R. 2, which repeals the job-destroying government takeover of health care. Voters rejected the government knows best philosophy in November. In contrast, Republicans believe that American innovation and reduced government control are keys to successful health reform that reduces health care costs. For instance, it's estimated that 1% of the most seriously ill account for more than 25% of all health care expenditures. What if we could improve the care of these patients and at the same time reduce cost? We can. We can by harnessing the power of innovation and health research in fields like regenerative medicine. Regenerative medicine develops technologies to replace or regenerate organs and tissues using the patient's own cells. These treatments could reduce the cost of chronic diseases by $275 billion a year. Consider the fact that Dr. Anthony Atala at the Institute for Regenerative Medicine at Wake Forest University has been able successfully to grow bladders for bladder replacement surgeries from the recipient's own cells. Yet despite several successful bladder transplants, the FDA insists he go through additional clinical trials on animals and spend millions of dollars in testing that is clearly unnecessary based on his success with the human transplant surgeries. The federal government's regulatory burden is stifling innovation in America, and the government takeover of health care passed by the ruling Democrats last year will impose more job and innovation, destroying regulations on health research. Therefore, I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of investing in new health technology and research by voting yes on H.R. 2. I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from California.
2 minutes to the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hinojosa, member of the committee.
For how much time? Gentleman from California is recognized for 2 minutes.
I ask unanimous consent that the entire statement be made part of the record.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in strong opposition to H.R. 2. Over one-third of my constituents in the 15th Congressional District of Texas are currently uninsured. With passage of the Affordable Care Act, that number, which has risen year after year, is finally coming down. I project that the percentage of uninsured individuals could drop to only 10%. Right now, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, children who are 26 and under can stay on their parents' policy as they finish school and search for a job. With the passage of health care reform in 2010, senior citizens who hit the donut hole are now going to receive rebates. Small businesses have received their taxes cut, all a result of the Affordable Care Act. If the proposed Health Care Act reform repeal were to pass, it will destroy this progress I've seen in my district and in my state. The families and businesses in my district cannot afford more uncertainty. They cannot afford to go back to the old health care system that was not working for millions of Americans and whose spiraling costs were driving our federal budget into abyss. Right now, the Affordable Care Act is extending affordable health care insurance to millions of Americans. However, here in Congress, the majority party is asking the House to repeal the law we passed without holding hearings and without offering a meaningful alternative to American people who are presently without insurance or who have pre-existing medical conditions. Those Americans were struggling to pay for hefty premiums to insurers. If there are some things that need to be fixed in the present law, we can fix them, but throwing out all the progress we've made is not the answer. The focus of this new Congress should be reducing the staggeringly high 9.5% unemployment rate. Instead, we have a bill before us today that makes it harder for businesses to provide benefits to the employees that eliminate the hundreds of thousands of new jobs that were being created in the health and medical fields.
Gentleman from Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now I'm pleased to yield 5 minutes to a physician on the committee, the gentleman from Tennessee, Dr. Rowe.
The gentleman from Tennessee is recognized for 5 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of H.R. 2, the repeal of Obamacare. For the past 30 years, I haven't been a politician, but a physician treating patients and delivering babies in rural East Tennessee. And I can say without hesitation, we have the finest health care system in the world. Health care should not be a partisan issue, and I personally have never operated on a Democrat or Republican cancer in my life. You can't spend $1 trillion and have a bill that's over 2,500 pages long and not have something good come out of it. This bill is not, however, good medicine for our country. The repeal of Obamacare doesn't mean that we aren't for health care reform. Quite the contrary. What I discovered in my own practice was, in 30 years, was health care was becoming more and more unaffordable for our citizens. And we had a group of patients, a group of citizens, who didn't have affordable health insurance coverage. This we need to address. This bill does increase the number of people who have insurance, but does nothing to control the costs. The other side says that if we repeal Obamacare, it'll increase the costs and decrease access. Well, let's take a look. Decrease costs. Let's take a look at 3 government-run plans. One is TennCare, my state's Medicaid program, the Massachusetts Care, and Medicare. In TennCare, we had a plan that had competing interests to compete for your business. It was supposed to hold costs down. We saw our costs in Tennessee from 1993 until 2000. In Tennessee from 1993 until 2004 and 5 go from $2.6 billion to $8 billion. It tripled. And what we found was that half the people who went on the government plan had private health insurance and dropped it and got on the government plan. This plan took up almost every new dollar our state took in. We balanced this on the backs of college students. We have less highway patrolmen in our state than we had 30 years ago, and we've got 2 million more people. What our governor, Democratic governor, did was ration care by cutting the rolls of TennCare patients and also limiting the access to physicians to 8 visits per year. Let's look at Massachusetts Care, where there's a mandate right now. You are required to buy a good or service, and the government decides what the right good or service is, not you as a consumer. And so what happens is it hasn't helped the cost down there either. They have the highest private insurance premiums in America in Massachusetts. Emergency room visits are not down. And why is that? The same as TennCare. These plans don't pay for the cost of the care, shifting more costs over to the private sector, making it more and more expensive. The second thing this mandate does, it empowers lobbyists. And how it does that is that you'll see the lobbyists come to us, the politicians, and say, hey, we want this medicine or this device on our plan. And these are the people that write the checks to the politicians. So you're empowering them. And let's finally look at Medicare, a program that started in 1965 as a $3 billion program. The government estimators at that time said in 25 years this will be a $15 billion program. It was over a $100 billion program. Today, over $400 billion. So we have three examples where costs are out of control in the government-run plans. The senior citizens understand this. When you take $500 billion out of a plan, and in the next 10 years we're going to add 36 million seniors, three things are going to happen when you've got more patients chasing fewer dollars. You'll have decreased access, you'll have decreased quality, and you'll have increased costs. That's a given. So we have had the President say last year that I will go over this bill line by line. I've read this bill. I wanted to go over it. I wanted to have meaningful health care reform, but was denied that privilege. Without exception, our states are almost broke, every one of them. And we're adding another unfunded federal mandate to require them to pay and implement a plan that's already breaking them, the expansion of Medicaid, which is an entitlement. Businesses get it also. If this is such a great plan, why have to date 222 businesses opted out, including McDonald's? And of all people, the SEIU, the Government Employees Union, who fought for this and then opted themselves out. I found that ridiculous when you see that. The doctors get it. The doctor fix, the SGR fix is not in this bill, a cost that was hidden. And as doctors are squeezed, they cannot see patients that cannot pay the cost of the care. Malpractice is not in this bill, and I can tell you as an OBGYN doctor, it's over the top. It's almost unaffordable for us there. So the American people get it, the people of Tennessee get it, and we as elected representatives get it. We got that in the election of November 2nd. I would encourage my colleagues to vote to repeal Obamacare, and I urge my colleagues to do this, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from California.
I yield myself 30 seconds.